Hey everyone, my name is Reggie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing with you my May wrap-up. In the month of May I read 6 books, which is pretty good because I was unable to read for about 2 weeks of that, so I'm pretty happy with those numbers. If you haven't done so already, I highly recommend subscribing to this channel. I post new bookish videos every week. Also give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. So if you're new around here, I do wrap-ups in order of my least favorite book I read in the month to my favorite. That way we ensure we end on a positive note. So we'll start off with my least favorite book I read in the month, and that is How to Love by Katie Cotugno. I gave this book 2 stars. This is about a girl who got pregnant when she was a teenager. It's told in dual narration, so it's told in the past before she gets pregnant, leading up to finding out she's pregnant, and in the future. I think her child is like 2, so it's maybe like 3 years in the future, and it's set kind of her running back into the father of her child. There were some pretty nice moments of this book, not saying it was all bad. I really like Katie Cotugno as a person. I got to meet her this month. She is very lovely. I felt like our main character in this book made a lot of poor decisions, not in necessarily like the getting pregnant part, like obviously that's the plot point, but like just the decision she made and the way she acted and the things she said just really annoyed me. And then her love interest was really not great. I really didn't like him. And then in the future perspective, she has a boyfriend that's not the father of her child, and he's great, and I don't think she treats him well at all, and it was really upsetting to read that. I do kind of like how it ended. While I don't like some aspects of the ending, I do like the character growth we see in this book and just kind of the journey our main character takes. But overall, really didn't like a lot of the characters and their decisions, and it relied on a lot of tropes that I don't like the miscommunication trope. So next up on this list we also have a Katie Cotugno book, and this is 99 Days. This I gave 3 stars. I'm kind of iffy on it because part of me feels like it should get a 1 star and part of me feels like it should get a 4 star. I ended up with like 2.53 is where I landed. At the time I gave it a 2 when I finished reading it, but after meeting Katie Cotugno and talking to her about it, I definitely want to raise my rating and reread this book actually because she brought so much more light to it in my opinion. There's a lot about this book I have issues with, but there's a lot that I really want to praise about it, so that's kind of where I lie in the middle. So this book is about a young girl who basically has some drama in her relationships. She's dating one guy, they break up, she sleeps with his brother, not a good thing, and then her mom writes a fiction novel about all that drama that ensued. She ends up actually moving away, going to a boarding school, and she graduates, comes back, and then most of this book is set in the summer between her graduation and going off to college, which is 99 days. So we'll start off with the things I really liked about this book. This book deals with like the double standard of like a female in relationships really well. There's 3 people that were in this situation in these relationships that went down with this main character, but she's the only one who seems to be having issues from like people who've read the book, from people in her town that know her and know them, and like no one else is getting like these looks or sighs or being talked about, just her. And we explore that kind of like double standard of the whole thing. Also in general, really like our main character. She like can't make a decision to save her life, and there's moments where I really dislike her, but I've really felt for her a lot of the time, and I was really interested in seeing her story play out. On the opposite side of that, going into the things I didn't like about this book, I really didn't like a lot of the decisions the main character made, and she felt really wishy-washy, and I didn't like the cheating aspects of this. I feel like that's kind of almost a theme in Katie Cotugno's books, and I really don't like it. Next up we have Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This I actually read in anticipation for the HBO TV show that is starring Michael B. Jordan and has Lily Singh in it actually. I said TV show, but it's a movie, and I haven't watched that yet, but I'm really excited to. But I don't know how I felt about this book. It was okay. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It's not my favorite classic or my favorite dystopian, but I do like what it did for, I assume, the genre of dystopia. It was very well thought out. The concept was pretty good, but there's a lot of moments where we had some dragging. Things just felt really slow, and then things picked up way too quickly. Like the pacing was really all over the place. Things would escalate and go really fast, and then they'd be really slow for a long time. And I really liked one of the main characters that really gets Guy, our main character, into kind of thinking. I wish we would have gotten more with her because it felt like she was just the catalyst for our main male character to save the day. I didn't really like that, but I liked her, so I wish we could have gotten more from her. And that character's name is Clarice, I think. She was great. I just, like I said, wish I would have gotten a lot more from her and she wouldn't just been a catalyst for some guy. But it was a really interesting read, and I'm glad I read it. Next up, I read The Good Girl by Mary Kubica, and I actually read this because one of my coworkers mentioned she was reading it, and I had the book, so I was like, I should read this with you, and I did, and it was a really fun experience reading with one of my coworkers, and then we had some really fun discussions about it. I really enjoyed this book. This is a thriller about a girl who gets kidnapped. It's told in many points of view. I think it's told from her perspective, the guy who kidnaps her's perspective, and her mom's perspective, and a detective's perspective. It's also told in dual timelines. So it's told before investigating what happened to her or while she's kidnapped. And it's also told after she's been found, returned. I don't want to like spoil it. After. There's an after. So I had so much fun reading this thriller. It's been a long time since I've read a thriller that got me as invested as I was as in this book. It was such a quick-paced book, and I really liked the different perspectives and timelines, and I really liked the explorations of characters. We have the guy who kidnapped our main character, who's not actually like as bad as you think, but he's not as good as you want him to be, and it's just so many layered dynamics. There were some problematic aspects, especially in regards to just how the detective handles people and like race. He just had some throwaway comments that made me feel very uncomfortable and unhappy. I think the mom did as well. And then just the way you think about characters that were just so interesting in this book, and their development and the ending. Oh, the ending was so good. Obviously no spoilers, but it really turned the entire book on its head for me. Changes at the game for everything, and I really enjoyed the ending. Because of some of those problematic aspects, and just like, even though I was having fun like not feeling all of the book, I was planning on giving it like a 2.5 until I read that ending, and it just really upped the agency for the characters. It changed everything for me, and I was very happy with it. So I ended up giving this a 3 stars. The next book I have to talk to you about today is Dumplin by Julie Murphy. So I mentioned earlier in this video that I met Katie Cotugno this month. At that same event was Julie Murphy and Becky Albertalli. So I read a couple of Julie Murphy's books as well this month, the first one being Dumplin. I gave this book a 3.5 stars, and this book is about a fat girl who is living in the South, living her life. She's obsessed with Dolly Parton, and her mom is super skinny and in charge of kind of like the beauty pageant in her town. And so our main character, Dumplin, decides to enter the beauty pageant. Dumplin's always felt pretty confident in herself. I read Julie Murphy's first book when it came out years and years ago, and I didn't like it, and so obviously this book got lots and lots of hype. I finally read it because I was going to meet her, and it's, in my opinion, much better than her debut book. So I do think she's growing wonderfully as an author and writing about some really interesting and great topics. The next book I have to talk about is the last one on this list, and this was my favorite that I read this month. This was a 4 stars to Ramona Blue, again by Julie Murphy. And Ramona Blue is about our main character named Ramona, who is a teenager living in the South, and she is kind of still dealing with the after effects of Hurricane Katrina. Ramona is actually a lesbian, but she starts during the course of this book having feelings for her childhood male friend, and so she's questioning that. And when the description for this book first came out, a lot of people were very scared and pretty sure it was going to be troubling and problematic because they thought it was about like a gay person being turned straight, but it's really more about the exploration of gender fluidity. I really enjoyed our main character Ramona. I like the tone, I like the voice. It's just very heartfelt and thorough, and tackles really important topics like poverty that aren't always touched on in YA, and I really appreciated just the characters and their relationships with each other and their dynamics. That is all for my May wrap up. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!